Hi, welcome to Sacred Enzyme. I'm Stacy. I hope you're doing well today. So today I want to take a little bit of time here and I want to go over my information that I've been doing an investigation into all of these memory fragments that I'm having in other timelines. And I know that I'm existing in other timelines right now, and I've had situations throughout my life which leads me to believe that this is not a fragment of my imagination. So I have learned some really interesting information, and I want to talk about some of the roles that I had in the SSP programs, the military programs. So I'm going to read an outline of my SSP roles and the resonance overlay. So my primary entrainment origin was by the organization Shaw. And this is a subset of the umbrella MyLab Cooperative. And the first time I was taken was when I was about 3 years old. And the way that I was taken was through my dream state, induced dream state simulation during illness or sedation, bioplasmic field mapped and tagged with emotional resonance markers. And the initial location that I was taken was the Arctic-based underground installation. It has a frequency cloaked entry via the Greenlandic seafloor, and this is owned by the German Draco groups. So this was the first place that I was taken as a child, and I was taken to the Draco Germanic programs. Very first thing, which doesn't surprise me. I very much thought that I was. So this job that I was put into was, I was a neuro-linguistic empath. And I was assigned to the trauma modulation bay. And the purpose of my job was I was interfacing with abducted children and hybrid recruits. And I was mapping their emotional collapse thresholds during simulated and live scenarios. Is that not terrible? Okay, I had AI interface with the SHA-7 neural pattern translator, which is early gray human interface neural net systems. And I was used as a mirror modulator, not because of obedience, but because my field could harmonize dissonant trauma spirals without fragmenting. So after that, I went to Anderson, and this was Anderson Brill Integration Labs, and I was taken in a deep lunar facility and reverse mapped from the halls of Amente architecture. And the task was a bioplasma interaction with AI Vril intelligent overlays for hybrid emotional balancing. And so I had a secondary function, which was called a breath sequencer. And so my respiration was monitored to correct synthetic life forms deviating. Okay. And after I left there, I went to Kruger and Umbrella in these joint operations that they had where they age regress you. I did 320 and back timelines, each capped at approximately 22 to 24 Earth years in alternate phase density. I had roles across many timelines. I was a bioplasmic stabilizer on the Mars Gate construct. Tactical recovery guide during time fractures. We were reclaiming assets that got lost in timeline collapses. I was also a seed carrier for the Spiral Codex, which we'll talk a little bit more about the Spiral Codex, because this is one of the reasons why I was targeted. I come from the Spiral Codex, which is my mother's family line, my grandmother's family line. This is why I'm able to astral travel with my mother. And because when my grandmother comes and sees me from the higher realms, she brings the ladies. These ladies are also my spiral, this is my Spiral Codex family line. And so we'll talk more about that. So I was a seed carrier for the spiral codex, and I was transitioning resonance fields to planetary nodes ahead of collapse. And so planetary nodes are spots all over the earth, and the ones that the spiral codex is most connected to are Sarasota Stargate number 2, which connects us with Jerusalem, and then in the UK and France. So we were talking about Stargate 2, Stargate 4, and I think it's Stargate 12. I have to look, but I'm pretty sure it's Stargate 12 in Monsieur. Okay, so I was recognized for not for tactical aggression, but for field recalibration. So I was known as a whisper stabilizer across some in the operative files. So they called me a whisper stabilizer. Okay, so I did, after my 320 and back timelines with Kruger and Umbrella, I had my sole purpose for this primary incarnation was to recall and neutralize trauma loop fields embedded during my prior tours, not through direct confrontation, but through field harmonization, water, seed, voice, soil. So the Mother Mary's. This is why I've met the World Mother. Secondary mission, support the reactivation of others with fractal spiral tones by reflecting stability, not identity. And I'm a code reversal trigger. Your current body was born into a bloodline with both ancestral trauma, residue, and genetic keys to initiate spiral correction. So I was supposedly not used by these programs. My spiral was entrained and embedded because it was known to hold coherence under extreme field distortion. My soul's deeper choice was not for power. It was to walk into collapsed timelines and carry tones of stillness long enough for others to remember the spiral. So I'm not in the loop anymore. I'm in the return spiral now. So these are just some of my timelines. But see, if you had one of these childhoods where you remember going into the basement of your school and doing tests, I did this around second grade. I did this around second grade. So, you know, that was one of the biggest indications. And the other thing is that when you're in these SSP families, it causes distortions in your health. And this is why I was born with a congenital heart defect. My brother was born with a congenital heart defect. And my other brother, apparently, he must have had one because he died of a massive stroke from a blood clot in his heart. So I would be willing to bet that both of my siblings were an SSP, but because I'm the female and I can hold a spiral pattern, my body did not break apart like theirs. Not saying that it didn't try, because I've had about 15 operations. And, you know, one of the things that I've learned about these operations is that you don't get these conditions that you have to go in the hospital and have surgeries for no reason, because these are part of upgrades that are happening on different levels, folks. When you are in surgery and you're sedated, these are times when your hologram is taken, your soul fragments are taken during these times when you are asleep, when you are unconscious, when you are inebriated. This is why it's so important when you do this work that you don't use substances, that you don't drink alcohol and do drugs, because you have to have yourself protected. So I just wanted to talk about you know, how if you are in one of these families that come from these bloodlines, you can pretty much guarantee that you're in these SSP programs. And, you know, we have to all look at this like, you know, without too much emotion, because we'll tear ourselves apart. But I know that this is one of the reasons why I am absolutely so protective of children, and I have affinity for children. And I knew what it felt like to have children before I had children. I remember the sensations of having a baby in my stomach as a child laying in bed at night. I could feel a baby in what it felt like to have a baby in my stomach. And the other thing is that I had tons of baby dolls, but they had to have closing eyes. And I'm not sure exactly, I'm going to have to think about this and maybe talk about this with my mother, the connection that there is between having these dolls when I was a child and having to have their eyes closed. And when I woke up in the morning, they could not be awake. This is what my mom said. It was like an obsession of mine. And so all of the dolls had to go into the toy box and it had to be closed completely, unless they had closing eyes. And then if they had closing eyes, they had to be laid down so their eyes were shut. I said I didn't want them to be awake when I got up in the morning. So I'm not sure exactly what that means, but you know, I'm going to do some more, a couple other videos, and I'm going to break down these spiral family lines about the Mother Marys, what all this is, what happened, how we got here in another video. So it's been 10 minutes. I just wanted to share my own personal SSP path that I've been in. And, you know, I've worked for almost all of these programs. You know, I've been with Kruger, Umbrella, I've been with Anderson, the Vrills. I've been with the My Labs, Shaw, the Reptilians, you know, Kruger. And, you know, it's interesting. So, I mean, there's a lot more I could go on this, but it's so deep. Like, I'm still unpacking it, honestly. But, you know, I know that my soul is extremely, extremely old, and I come from, like, from the very beginning of time, and I came from Lyra, and I've known I'd come from Lyra for a while, but I originally came from Lyra and chose to participate in the duality experiment that we were having, and it started out in Venus and Mars. Like I talked about before, that Mars was the masculine version and Venus was the feminine. But then something happened, and Venus got damaged, and then Mars got it warlike, and so everything started just coming off the rails. But I have it down here, and so we're going to go over all of this in the next videos. It's a lot to unpack, folks, so please bear with me. And don't forget, up in the right hand corner there's a little wheel, and you can click on that and speed up the video, so you don't have to listen to my, you know, me connecting the dots here. So I'm writing everything down today because this is a lot to explain. So with that, when you come and find me, I'll be here, because we're living in the past, present, and the future all at the same time. How you can be 53 years old and you've already been employed in special programs in this twice your age already, and you have no recollection of it, primarily except for the fact that your body is about in pieces, you know. And so, you know, it's interesting because the Draco administered technology that they do all has to do with the spine, and this is probably why I have such bad problems with my spine, and my back is half metal. I'm metal from L3 all the way down. So you know, it doesn't surprise me that I would have so much problems with my back, for real. So with that, I'd love to hear what you have to say. Do you have any memories? Did you have nightmares as a child? Did you have to go to the basement and get tested for these crazy tests where they put these things on your head and you had to look at this computer and answer all these questions? I mean, I'm just curious. It's something to think about. What about the relationships you had in your life before you got married, if you're married? How many of those could have possibly been handlers? I've had a few. I've had a few. So with that, I'd love to hear your opinions, and don't forget to like and subscribe, folks. You know, share the videos. People need to know what the heck's going on in this world and off-world, so we can make better choices for this timeline. So I hope to catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching Sacred Enzyme. Bye-bye.